We all want to feel peace in our lives. Peace in our choices, our beliefs, our relationships, and our environment. I've learned that this desired contentment is often found through holding on to less. When we pare down what we own, what we consume, and what we value, we're left with what's intentional, a personalized curation of what is important and true and useful to us. I'm Shannon Leyko, and you're listening to Paring Down, a podcast aimed at helping you declutter not only your home, but any area of your life that's overwhelming. Here, we're having interesting and honest conversations about the physical and mental clutter that drowns out what truly matters to each of us. And together, we'll learn how to pare it all down, not for the sake of perfection or becoming rigid, rather so we can move through life with less overwhelm and more joy, wisdom, and peace. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I am very nervous, maybe would be a word for it, excited, but mostly just really happy to have my husband here with me in the studio, aka our closet. Hi, babe.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Oh, he's so formal. He's a formal guy, you know. But we are here to talk a little bit about our decluttering story as a couple, what it's been like for us to move through the process of getting rid of a lot of things while having very different mindsets and perspectives and standards. And what's the word that you said earlier? We just have like different
Perspectives,
I guess. Yeah. on stuff, or we used to. I would say we're getting a lot closer to meeting in the middle. But anyway, today is the last episode of the mini series here on Paring Down, which is paring down relationships. So what better way to finish it off the week of Valentine's Day than by talking to my own Valentine?
Bun.
Oh, he calls me Bun. Why do you call me Bun?
I think it was Amazing Race.
It was The Amazing Race.
It was like Hun Bun.
You're right. It was Bethany Hamilton
Bethany Hamilton, yeah.
She has one arm from getting eaten by a shark, which is also my biggest fear. On Amazing Race, her husband called her Hun Bun, like short for honey bun, and then we just started calling each other Bun.
Because they were awesome.
They were awesome.
They were like the best couple.
Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. I feel like the people need to know kind of why we're together before they learn all the reasons why it might seem weird that we're together. So last week I talked them through all my exes. Did I tell you about that?
I think you mentioned it.
Yeah. So I talked about all the guys that I dated before Aaron, but I didn't tell everyone how we met. Do you want to tell the people? What was our origin story?
Our origin story. So there I was, because that's how all good sea stories start. So there I was living in Virginia Beach. And met somebody, ended up at my roommate's place. And like through that social group, I met Jen.
Yeah. And so basically I came down to visit my parents in Virginia Beach and said, they'd kind of convinced me to move back. It was kind of this long story. I was living outside of DC at the time, and I texted Jen. But what's the funny part about Jen and this whole circle of how I actually met Jen was through... Do you know?
Yeah.
My ex.
Yeah.
My ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
So my ex-boyfriend ended up being at our wedding.
Well, yeah, because he's he's an awesome dude. He's a mutual friend.
Because you become part of this crew while I was living in New York and DC.
We were just at different time frames.
Different times.
You know?
It's so funny. Yeah, it's so cool to think about how things work out in life, right? Because like if I had never met him... And the story about meeting him was ridiculous, right? It was like we were singing karaoke at Christmas, and then I was not that into it. And then I went dog sledding in Minnesota, and I get into, after 7 days of dog sledding in negative 20 degrees with 9 strangers. I was 22 when I did that. I was in this airport in Ely, Minnesota. No, it must have been Minneapolis. It's still, and I look across, and there's this guy sitting there that had taken me out on a couple dates before I left. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? So we saw each other in Minnesota, and that's the only reason we ended up dating, is because we bonded on this flight home. So that whole relationship was so bizarre to begin with, and then it ended up being the reason I met my husband 5-6 years later.
So crazy.
Is so crazy to me.
And so I had become, since you had left,
you become friends with him. And
I've been
Jen
friends with everybody. Yeah, and so then they were like, hey, and so Jen was like, hey, we're having a party, we're having a barbecue in one of my girlfriend's from back in the days moving back, and you
Me.
should, yeah. And then, and she's really cool. I think you'd like her.
You should meet her.
You should meet her. And
I didn't know this though, because they didn't tell me. So I texted Jen and Crystal, who again, I had met years and years earlier because they were friends with my ex-boyfriend. So like it was his circle of friends, but we had stayed in touch, and they were the only ones really I knew still in the Virginia Beach area, because most of my like high school friends had moved away. And so that's why I texted them that weekend I was visiting town, and they invited me to the party, but they didn't tell me about you. They were just like, yeah, let's hang out, come over. And then when I got to the party, we met, and I had no idea. You knew that I was like a free agent, and that you would come pretty specifically to meet me.
Fact.
I had no idea. I just was like, who is this like very good looking, charismatic guy that I'm flirting with? But I was, I thought you were gay. Not because you have like a gaydar, but because your roommate Steve at the time, so he was gay or is gay, and we love Steve. And I think I didn't understand, how could this perfect human, this like super hot, super fun, interesting guy just like plop into my lap. I mean, I was like pretty jaded at that point in my dating life, and I was like, this guy's not real. He's got to be gay.
Yeah, because single guys are, heterosexual single guys are not as cool.
They're the worst.
They're the worst. So anyway, so we meet, and then I'm pulling out all the stops.
He's pulling out all the stops. I'm still like gay, straight, gay, straight, gay, straight. I finally asked Crystal. I'm like, what's up with that guy,
good.
Aaron?
I came in under the radar.
And then when she confirmed that not only were you straight, but you were also like they're wanting to meet me, that they had told you about me, and that's why you came to the party, then it was like game on.
Yeah.
And you guys, we talked the rest of the night at that party.
It was great.
That was like a 2 p.m. situation.
Yeah.
And then we all went to dinner, and I remember we didn't sit next to each other at dinner. There was like probably 15 of us at this big table at Chick's, and I kept looking over at you and being like, this guy's fake laughing. I knew your fake laugh very early on, within a couple hours. And I feel like that speaks to how much we connected. Is like we just sensed a lot with each other.
Yeah, we could tell what each other were thinking.
But that night ended great. You asked if you could kiss me when we got to our 4th location of the night. It was like just the 2 of us finally.
Yeah. So date 4.
Night 1, date 4.
Night 1, day 4. It was like by then it was like I wanted to kiss you, but there was not like a good in, or like I don't know. And then I was like really into you. I was starting to get really into you, and so then I was like getting in my head, and I was like, oh man, I'm just gonna make
you
it.
did. You asked
above board.
Is it okay if I kissed you?
I wanted to keep everything like above board.
Which was
I don't
really
want to
sweet.
mess anything up.
Oh, and you didn't. You were great. So I then go back and tell my sister. I go back to DC. I tell my sister-in-law via G-chat. I was like, I met this guy. We had totally hit it off. It was like she actually read this entire G-chat exchange I had with her at our wedding. Do you remember that during her speech?
I do. That was great.
And I was like, I feel like I just met the male version of myself. Like he's just, and I just remember being like, that was great, but I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, because we'd shared our whole life story with each other in the 4 dates in one day that we had.
We would never find out anything new about each other.
No, it was that I thought you were going to get back together with your ex. And so we didn't talk for the month that I moved. I was like still living out in DC.
And I'm just making that joke because like literally I find out something new about you every day.
Every single day.
Like that you're scared of bubbles, or
I'm not scared of bubbles.
Things with holes.
Oh, yeah, I don't. It's tryptophobia. Little holes next to each other. Actually, I can't look too close about this. Mike has them.
Oh,
now that we're talking about it.
And now you'll never be able to unsee it.
I hate
That's it. Podcast
the worst,
over.
Honestly, the way it affects my life the worst is the seeds inside of bell peppers. Like the fact that they're all, I can't even say the
like
word.
Hanging off the.
They're clustered.
They're clustered, like clinging on.
I can't.
That,
Stop it! Don't say those words.
All right. That's
anyways,
enough.
Okay,
moving on. Or like how you get pins and needles in your feet.
My feet hurt when I get scared, and Aaron thinks that it's ridiculous, but I've looked it up and I've Googled it, and other people experience this, that when you're scared, like shock factor scared, like you think your car is about to crash, or like you're at the top of a roller coaster, it feels like someone's put some knives inside my feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, we continue to learn about each other, but I thought you were going to get back together with your ex, and I was like, very much didn't want anything to do with that, because I had just gotten over a guy who had an on-again, off-again girlfriend for like 9 years, which is similar to your ex. And I wanted nothing to do with a situation like that again. And so we didn't talk for about a month, but then I moved back to Virginia Beach a month later from DC, and we went on our first date, and he rolls up in his motorcycle. Actually, I was there with my dad. I was going on this date, but then I brought my dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, we can meet for a drink at like 5, because I'm meeting this guy at 6. And so my dad meets me at the bar at 5. And then it's like 5:50. I'm like, you should really get going, Dad. Like, I don't want to be sitting here with my dad.
That's like early date to meet my parents.
And so then Dad and I were like sitting on the porch of this restaurant, and like this motorcycle was up, and he's like, it's not this guy in the motorcycle, is it? And I was like, no, he doesn't ride a motorcycle, because I didn't know that you did.
We didn't know anything about each other.
No, we didn't know anything. And so literally as my dad leaves, Aaron walks up with his helmet under his arm and looks so good, might I tell you, and his like leather jacket and the helmet. I was like, this guy's hotter than I remember. And then my dad is literally crossing past him and like waving goodbye to me in front of the fence, and he sees Aaron sitting there. And I remember my dad being like, oh, is that him? Like, give me a silent thumbs up. And I'm like, Dad, don't, you gotta leave. You can't know that you're my dad. Like, you gotta leave. Anyways, awesome. I remember that very well. But we basically didn't want to leave that night. And I remember they let us sit outside with our glasses of water, and we're like, just leave the glasses of water here overnight.
Yeah.
Like, they closed down and went home, and we just kept sitting there with our glasses of water so we could talk.
37 North.
All right, the story's gotten really long. The point is, it's just we really liked each other, and we were engaged 2 months after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We said, I love you. You said, I love you. At Jesse's by accident.
By accident. Yes. You know, when Mexican food, that it just like, I don't know. It gets me going.
It's a truth serum in Mexican.
Truth serum. It is. There's nothing like, Jesse's is so good.
Yeah. I just feel like it's always inspirational to me to think about our little love story, because not only is it proof that like things can happen quickly if you communicate and like are on the same page and aren't afraid to talk about big things, because
messed up a lot in your past.
And messed up a lot in our past. I had
not messed up. Learned
a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
You learned a lot of lessons.
Got educated.
I would say you learned a lot of lessons with one person, and I learned a lot of lessons with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we both knew what we wanted and what we didn't. But what's inspirational and exciting about it for me, even to this day, is I always have hope for the future, because I was not happy with the way my life was going in April of that year when I met you. And by December of the same year, I was married, living in a new city, and had a new job. Like, my whole life looked different from like, I literally on April 24th, the day before I met you, it escalated quickly. The day before I met you, I was like, I'm going to be single the rest of my life. I don't know where I'm going to move, what I'm going to do. I don't like where I am right now. I don't like my career trajectory, all of it. And then it's like literally in the same year, 2015, by December of the same year, I was married to the love of my life, living in a new city and like on a new career path. Like, it was so ridiculous. What did people say to you when they knew that you got engaged this quickly?
They definitely didn't believe it.
Yeah, this is a joke.
They're like, no way. They're like, are you sure? Are you sure you're not just like,
being dumb? My friends thought it was a joke.
What happened?
Like, when I posted online, they thought I was just like being silly.
Is there now somebody else in the equation?
Yeah.
Like a baby or something?
Yeah. People definitely thought I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah. People didn't say that to me as much, but I know they said it to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no baby until a year and a half later. Thank God. Babies are hard, man.
Babies are hard.
Anywho.
Not for the faint of heart.
Okay. So if you guys can't tell, which maybe you can't, because I feel like you've been doing so great, sweetie, but like, talking is not Aaron's thing. Talking is my thing. Yeah. He is so smart when it comes to like numbers. He's an engineer. You like build ships basically for a living in the Coast Guard. I am the communicator, but you've been doing really well. But I wanted to get your juices flowing by none of that business, Aaron.
It's not that kind
We're
of
podcast. On camera.
Yes.
Okay. By doing some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Wiggle it out.
Lightning round.
Let's Here go. We go. Favorite movie. Right. Favorite movie. Go.
Kelly's Heroes.
I've literally had no idea, and I don't know what that movie is.
We'll have to watch it.
What? What is it?
It's like
an 80s movie, isn't it?
I think it's like 60s or 70s, 60s. Gosh. I don't know.
Is it black and white?
No, it is not black and white. Okay. Yeah, it's Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland, Telly Savalas. They go behind enemy lines to rob a bank. It's like World War II. It's great, great
guys,
film.
I'm gonna be
check it out.
I'm gonna be learning so much about my husband on this podcast today. Okay, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
That's tough. I don't know. I guess maybe just general super strength would be cool.
Like Mr. Incredible?
Yeah, that'd be great.
What sport did you play in college?
I
I know these ones.
did crew
Uh-huh.
in the beginning, and then rugby for the last 2 years,
Oh.
and then we did boxing for the winter workouts.
What about fencing?
I did fencing. Yeah, but not really in college. I did in high school.
Oh, I told Anders you did it in college. All right.
Um,
As you can see, he's a well-rounded young man.
The more you know.
Okay. What was your first job?
Chick-fil-A.
I knew that one, and I was so excited to tell the people. I feel like that speaks to your character.
Yeah, I agree.
You're a very friendly, like, amiable person.
Thanks.
Amiable? Is that the right word? Or amenable?
High quality.
Is it amenable or
I'm-
amiable?
Amenable?
I'm asking the
Amenable?
wrong person.
Yeah, I don't know.
He barely knows how to read.
Yeah, I don't know how to read. I just memorized a lot of words.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Cinnamon rolls.
Oh, yeah, that tracks. If you could eat dinner with one person, dead or alive, and who would it be?
That's a toughie. Oh, man, you.
I knew you were gonna say me. That's why I was laughing. I knew it. I knew he was gonna say me.
And I get to do it every day. So,
it's so sweet. Brownie points.
Thanks.
Okay. What's our third child's birthday?
March 16th.
What year?
2021.
Wow. Honestly, didn't think you were gonna get that right.
What?
No.
Because I fill out all the the admin, like health insurance and all that stuff. So I have to write all that stuff.
That's
down.
true. You do that. God bless.
Otherwise, I wouldn't know.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, so we already talked about how we met a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you this not to toot my own horn, but because I feel like it's important to know why we kind of like each other before we dive into all the reasons that we've struggled with decluttering together.
You gotta amp it up. You gotta amp up the feelings before we start to burn them off.
Correct. Okay, so I'll start. All the reasons I like you.
Oh.
Yeah, you ready?
All right. You're gonna start.
I'm gonna start. Okay. So I feel like some of the main reasons I fell in love with you, and I still love you so much, are your openness. I feel like you're one of the most open people in the world. Like, you don't judge people. You're very, you treat people like individuals, and you truly just don't care about things that don't matter. And I really love that about you. I think that you're very smart, and that's very attractive to me. I think that you're the funniest person I've ever met. There's no person on this planet who can make me spit out my drink from laughter except for you. You were very good at doing that.
It's a goal. It's definitely keeping tabs.
I know. And I would say I also just appreciate your zest for life. Like, you are so fun and out there, and I know that's part of why sometimes you hold on to so much stuff, but I really love how much you just live. What do you call it? Ridicumore. You're not ridiculous. You're ridicumore.
As Kiet coined that term.
Yeah, your best friend said that about you, and it's so true. But you live big. You have big dreams. You are adventurous. You just take life by the horns, and I just think that's great. Okay, your turn. What do you like about me?
Man, I don't know if we have enough time. Is there a time limit on this podcast? I guess it's your podcast.
I'll edit it if we need to.
Okay,
good.
It. So in no particular order, I think you're very smart as well. I think you compliment me. I think I have a lot of respect for your writing ability, your reading ability. I think, I don't know, that's just something that's been, that I have no concept of.
Literacy.
Or literacy, just in general. I think it's an important thing for the youth. And I'd love to be literate, but and that's why, and that's what you've got, and so
ladies, you can get a man if you can read.
Moving on, exactly. Besides that, I think I didn't find this out till later, till we were already, I think we were already engaged, but I love your singing. I think I'm very musically oriented, interested, although I cannot sing, and so I really like your talent for that. I like your passion. I think you are very passionate. You come up with these great ideas for things to do, these goals, and then you drive them home and you follow through and you get it done. Whereas I will start a lot of projects, and I'm very like Renaissance-y maybe, but you set the aim, for your goal, and then you go and you like climb the mountain and you reach the summit and you get there, and no matter how hard it is. And I think that's something that's, I've always looked up to you about. I think that's great. It's something I can do better, obviously.
Hey, Ava.
And that's why we have all this stuff in our house that we're going to talk about later. It's because I start a lot of projects.
Oh my gosh, you do not have to keep going. Thank you. That was so sweet. I would also say you're this is obviously post-marriage, but you're an amazing dad.
Oh,
like really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, the kids are lucky.
Well, you're a great mom.
Well, thanks.
Like you hold our family together.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Okay, so now that we're done tooting each other's horns, I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, horn tooting.
Let's talk about all the stuff in our house. Okay, so what was your take on stuff before we met? Like just belongings and gadgets and things.
I really liked stuff.
Why did you like stuff?
I like gadgets. I've always been a gearhead. If there's like some cool new gadget, or like I've always liked the right tool for the job. And so like if there's a way to get it done in, with the right tool, I would prefer to have the right tool. And then, I wouldn't say I'm like a preppy, like not preppy, like polo shirt preppy and board.
No, you're like there. What if the world ends?
But what if the world ends? But I'm not like, building bunkers in the basement preppy.
You probably would, honestly.
But yeah, I like having the ability to not be flat-footed.
But what the world needs to know is that you're not worried about like war or famine. You're worried about zombies.
Yeah.
I feel like you're worried about more like extraterrestrial life. Like you're more worried about things that like are a little bit fable-ish rather than like war and famine. You definitely think there could be a zombie apocalypse.
I don't really think there could be a zombie apocalypse, but I feel like if you are covered for a zombie apocalypse, then you're pretty much covered for everything else.
So it's not that you believe it. It's just that's your standard.
Yeah, just like, it's a good like standard to raise. And then like you set the bar at zombie apocalypse and then you're covered.
Then you're good if there's a war.
Then everything under that is like gravy.
Okay, that makes a little more sense to me. I always thought you actually believed in zombies.
No. Other zombies are like a pet peeve of mine.
A pet peeve?
Yeah, like something that I'm
like
they
annoy you?
No, well, I mean, just like because they're already dead and like and they can bite you and you're done. It just seems like something it's tough. It's a tough nut to crack. So
what's a tough nut to crack is you.
Perhaps.
I appreciate that you have strong feelings about zombies. Again, I'm learning.
I know. I'm glad we had this talk.
Okay, so you are a little bit of a doomsday prepper, and you also are a gearhead. And so like if you could use a spoon to scoop ice cream, but why would you use a spoon if you could get this super awesome ice cream scooper?
Yeah, absolutely. Or like if anybody's ever had Thrifty ice cream, like my favorite ice cream is like the chocolate malted crunch from Thrifty's, and they have like a certain ice cream scoop that they only do there, and it takes me back.
Do we own that?
We do own that.
That's the one we have?
No, that's not the one we used on the regular.
See, we have a hidden ice cream scoop in this house. You know what we're going to do right after this podcast?
Eat ice cream?
We're going to go throw away the other ice cream scoop and only use the Thrifty's one. Okay. Why in the world would you use a different ice cream scoop than the one that brings you joy?
Because the other one brings me joy too.
Does the Thrifty's one even work?
Yeah, it does. Well, the Thrifty's one's for like ice cream cones.
Oh my God.
And we typically eat ice cream out of a mug. On a daily, not a daily basis, but Do
you see what I'm working with here? Okay. So that was your take on stuff before we met.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we got married, you had like a 2-car garage storage unit, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. Did that ever bother you that you had a storage unit? Or
yes.
It did?
Yeah.
I thought it was more like out of sight, out of mind.
No, it bothered me. Well, the problem is because in my job, I moved so much, and I was always like, I was never in like a necessarily big house. I was always like in like, small, like a 1-bedroom or like a studio or like a house or like, I was like bouncing around. And so I'd like get stuff to fill up a house, and then I would go into the storage unit, and I live in a small apartment, and then I move into a house and I'd fill that house up. And then, or I'd need something and it'd be stuck in the storage unit and buried in the bottom. And so I just get a new one, but there was never a way to reset. And, and the storage unit isn't, built for, easily like taking everything out, laying it out nice and neat, having in like, trying to get rid of some stuff or like consolidate. It's just like it's not something I'm interested
It's
in.
a big hole where things go to die.
Yeah, and it's not something I'm interested in doing. Like if I have free time, I'm not going to be doing that. And so I'd rather like I'll just buy another screwdriver or whatever, and then and then move on, and then go about whatever I want to do. And then so the stuff just accumulates. And so it is until now that we've actually like had a place of regularity and size, and that we could put all of the stuff consolidated all into the garage and then get rid of it.
Well, we had that in Virginia Beach like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but I was going underway.
Right. So that's the thing, is I feel like I'm actually interested, and I'm glad that you brought up that it bothered you, because it is a lot of a waste of money, not just like the monthly payment, but like you said, like a lot of times people put things in there and then they don't want to have to go find it in there, so they just buy another one.
Exactly.
And
like it would always, because being part of being like the prepper or whatever, like it would really annoy me when I'd get something, so that when I needed it, I would have it, and then I would need it and I wouldn't have access to it. And it would like infuriate me. It would like be super frustrating, because I'm like, I know I have like 37 of these things and they're all like locked up in various, layers of the storage unit.
That storage unit was aggressive. Okay, I think one of the biggest mindsets that a lot of times people face when they like tell their partner they want to declutter, like I told you, is that the partner tends to be like, well, it doesn't bother me. The clutter doesn't bother me. The stuff doesn't bother me. So then why should I care or have to do all this work with it if it doesn't really bother me? Did you ever experience that feeling?
No, I would say my stuff is, I would think the biggest root of it is like I invested time and money in like going up the mountain. I got halfway up the mountain and I like hit pause and then moved on to something else. But I could always like hit play and continue up the mountain
with these different hobbies.
With the different hobbies, right? So I got them to like where I knew enough that like I was within striking distance of like crossing the finish line, and then moved on to something else. And so to then give that up, then I felt like I would never find the time to get back to that spot and then cross the finish line again. And so it's it's kind of like all that investment in time and money that I spent on it is now gone. That's like admitting that and it's also admitting that I would never get there, kind of a thing, which is like a some humble pie kind of a thing. Like, I wanted to do this thing, I didn't follow through. Here's yet another thing I didn't follow through with, kind of a thing, which has been something that, is obviously you got to come to terms with, and that you have helped me edit and like bring that stuff down. And that's key to being able to focus on, if there's less noise, than focusing on like things I really want to do. Like there's not time in the day to do everything. And so if I pare it down to, things that I really, really, really am into right now, then I will actually get them done. Or like things that are not consistent with my life anymore. Like I'd be like, oh man, it'd be great to juggle axes or something, but maybe we shouldn't do that.
Well, we have a toddler.
Like it's not I'm not in that season anymore.
Or like DJing, I think, is a big one for you.
Yeah.
You used to love to do, but it's like we're not going to house parties anymore, nor are we going to be staying up late at night where you would DJ because we have bedtime at 7.
Exactly. That's a big one. That's a good example, right?
Yeah.
So while like if that was my like purest of passions and that was my job, it'd be one thing. But as a hobby, it's not really, I'm not gonna be like, yo, I've been working all week, I'll see ya, I'm gonna go to a bar or a wedding and like DJ and I'll see you later.
You're gonna do what, sir?
Exactly, right.
Come back here and how we get these crazy children in their beds.
Exactly, right. So it doesn't
But then on the flip side, I feel like one that you've held on to, even though in my journey here too, of learning how to make sure that I'm respecting you and who you are and how you operate here. Something I haven't done super well is, while I've tried to help you pare down, I've also, I think, tried to eliminate more than you're ready for or want to. And one that you've really pushed to keep that actually does make sense is beer brewing beer. You have a bunch of stuff to brew beer, and you've gotten rid of a fair amount of it that was like big and bulky and that maybe is a little outdated. But I feel like that's one that, even though right now you're not doing it, you have done the research, you've climbed halfway up the mountain, as you said, and it's something you can do at home in the garage during nap time.
Yeah.
It's feasible. Are you doing it right now? No. So I think that's where I struggle, because I'm
Mhm.
like, like, when are you going to do that? What else? During nap time, you're doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 right? That's where like all of those kind of thoughts come in for me.
Mhm.
But I appreciate that you've been able to distinguish between something like DJing and brewing beer and recognize which one fits into my life. And you're absolutely right that like brewing beer would make sense
Yeah.
for our time and schedule. What would you say though to someone who does kind of have that mindset of like, I know my partner cares, but I don't, so why should I have to participate in this? Like, what is your take on that?
Well, I think if it's like that, I feel like if you care about your partner, then you should want what's best for your partner. And if it brings them joy, or like it makes their life easier and less stressful, less prone to anxiety, if you get rid of the thing that you don't care about, then you should get rid of it. And that's, to me, that like makes sense, right? And then, but the problem is with me a lot of times, as I'm into the thing, and so it's like, then you get to the thing like, well, why? So you want it gone, and that would make you happy, but I want it here, and it actively makes me happy, then why is your happiness more important than my happiness, kind of a thing, like
Right.
all the time.
Right.
And obviously not. I mean, it's a compromise, right?
Right.
And so like some things you go, okay, let's get rid of this, and then you meet me halfway, and then we keep some things. Like you've been really good about, they allow me to keep like kitchen stuff, and because that is a hobby that I can do, because it's like,
Let me reframe. I'm not letting you keep kitchen
not
stuff. I
letting.
think
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
come
yeah,
to
yeah.
a conclusion where both of us feel good about it
Yeah.
because I know it makes you happy. And I think that's the key. Like you said, is that this is a matter of like caring about our partner. And
Yes.
I think the
I'm
problem
sorry,
is that people,
yeah.
no, I know, but I think that people get like all caught up, but then they're going to just get their way all the time. And instead of recognizing that, like for me, and I'm sure for you too, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but like for me, when you are more willing to be like, you know what, honey, let's go ahead and get rid of the DJ speakers because I know that's not going to work, then I'm more likely to be like, oh, but I don't want you to not have anything fun because I care about you. So, with the kitchen stuff, like hold on to those muffin tins or whatever it is you want to keep, because I know that brings you joy. And I think both partners just have to really care about the other one and stop being so scared that one of them is going to get like run over.
Yeah. Well, and also I think, and one of the things that you've helped me get to is, just because something is, I really like something, or, brings me joy. Like if, everything's bringing me joy, but I'm also like, but it's locked away. Like it's got to bring a significant amount of joy if I can have it locked away, unseen in the garage, right? It can't be just like, oh, if it brings me like a little bit of joy, so I'm going to hang on to it, then that is not, that the balance isn't there. And so in getting rid of stuff, like you're like, hey, if you want it, fine. You just gotta, like, when you're like, hey, I'm down with that if that brings you joy, but let's display it in the house or whatever. And then, then brings the next question, like, would I want that displayed in the house? And like, maybe I don't. And so maybe then I have to like come to terms with, yeah, maybe I should get rid of something because I don't want that. I want it in the garage,
Yeah.
But maybe that's not where it should live. Maybe it should be out somewhere like doing what it's supposed to be doing, as opposed to, not to anthropomorphize
I
it,
think
but
something that you've gotten a lot better at is being able to distinguish what is something that I like the idea of doing versus
Yeah.
something that I actually want to do.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent. If you're gonna have it, use it. I mean, I go back to the Thrifty's ice cream scoop, but like for me, okay, if you love that ice cream scoop, that is the ice cream scoop we should be using.
Yeah.
And I know it's the cone versus the bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
I also, why is there a difference? You're just making a ball of ice cream, whether it's going into a cone or a cup. You need to explain this to me.
You're right.
It's eating at me right now.
We're gonna do it. I'll do it. We'll film.
Well, no, I
We're
want to.
gonna put it on
What
like
makes it better for a cone, though? Like, how is that?
It's just the shape. It doesn't make it better for a cone. It makes it. It is just the Thrifty's ice cream cone shape. That is like the only time you ever
But
see
could we
that.
put that in a bowl?
Yeah, we should. Good idea. See, look, that's why we have these conversations, and you just like you're finding. You're giving me pearls, Mom.
Oh, honey,
you figure this stuff out.
Okay, so how did you feel when I first was like, I want to start getting rid of more? Like, I really want to start paring down.
Wanted to die. No. Yes. No, it was okay. It was like, all right.
Did you immediately feel, how did you immediately feel?
The first time you're like, let's get rid of all of this stuff. I was like, yes. I was like, that makes sense. We got to like pare it down. We got to get rid of this stuff. There's so much stuff and we need to consolidate. And there's some things I'm good at and some things I'm not good at. And it's tough, like multitasking or being able to do like a little bit at a time. Like I really need, or at least for this, I need to like lay it all out on a tarp or in the yard or in the driveway and just be like, and then group things together and then go, oh, I got 47 of these.
Who knew?
Let's, I can get away with 20 of them or whatever, or one.
So you were into the idea.
Yeah. But then when I had to make like some hard choices, I was like, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah. You were.
I'm good.
I feel like your defenses went up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Whenever I would suggest something in the garage, I'm imagining us back in Virginia Beach and me suggesting getting rid of a bunch of your photographs from photography class in high school.
Yeah.
I remember you were like, there was this wall that went up that I had never seen in you before.
Yeah.
Why did you immediately feel defensive?
Because it was like, again, I think I have like strong attachments to like for me, I have strong attachments to like the time and like what the music I was listening to and the memories and just like everything, the story and the whatever. And so like that stuff represented a very, very, important time for me in my life. Something I was like super interested in and just, very formative time in my life. And so like to then throw it out just seems like I just couldn't handle it. I didn't want to like, hang on to it, like open it up. Like I'm just imagining, going up in the attic in 100 years and going, oh man, I'm blowing the dust off and been like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And now it's got, and then it could be hypothetically gone. Things are easier now that you can like digitize stuff, but
So what helped you kind of move through that mindset to be able to start making those harder choices?
Just like, letting it go, kind of just, it's like, I love it, just like say, hey, it was amazing and it's a good time. Maybe saving like one or two like quintessential pieces and then, letting the rest of it go.
Yeah.
And, just like editing down to what, less fluff and more, like the really nice, like the ones that I was like particularly proud of or something like that.
Like you don't need to keep all of them in order to preserve the memory.
Yeah, like one.
Right.
And then just kind of like going, in certain cases, just tossing it all away. And then looking around.
And being like, am I still alive?
And I'm still alive. And I'm like, and then like, years later, like not even thinking about it. Like every once in a while, like I might be like, oh, it would be cool to like pull that out. But is it worth hauling it around everywhere all the time? Like, nah. Like I'm good.
Aaron, this growth, it's so cool. And it's really, really powerful because you've struggled with this in a way I haven't really. I've always been pretty heartless with stuff. And so it's really going to be helpful for people to be like, oh, I totally know where he's coming from, and to hear that a lot of this is learned experience. Like it was probably incredibly difficult for you the first time you just got rid of something like cold turkey, but then you learned that you survived and that it really wasn't worth all of the energy to preserve it and carry it with you everywhere. And that makes your decisions going forward easier because you have seen that you have lived through it, right? But that the beginning is the hardest part because it's like taking a leap of faith and being like, I'm not going to regret this the rest of my life.
Exactly, because you can't undo it once it's in the lost in a landfill.
Yeah. So, kind of on a similar note, what is something I could have done better throughout the years during this process of encouraging you to get rid of stuff?
I think you just like I wanted to save everything, you wanted to like boot everything, and I think, and although it was hard and we came to compromise, I think something that would help somebody in my shoes, not saying like you owe me this or anything, but or anybody would owe anybody any of that, but um kind of like when you go to the gym, like, when you start to work out, like some people go, oh, I'm going to go 3 days a week and work out for like 2 hours a day for like 3 days a week, right? And it's way more habit forming and effective when you're starting out to like maybe do 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week, because then you stick to it, and you build up the habit of going through that. You get in the gym and you do it and it's fast and you're out, and then like you're like, oh, this, I can do this, and then like as your body gets used to it and as you get used to it and it becomes more of a habit, you can expand that into more, do 2 a days, do more, and like whatever. But like when you start out, shorter and more frequently. And so I think like maybe there was lots of times when let's say we could shave 10% off, or we could shave like 50% off. And I think where we fought was like when we did fight all the, at least in the beginning, for sure we fought, not fought, but had like maybe disagreements, or it was more tension. Yeah. And so not saying that it's like your fault or anything, because it isn't. It was like my fault for having all that stuff.
No,
but
both of us had a lot of room for improvement of how it wasn't a fault thing. It was both of us had communication problems and lack of empathy for the other person. There was a lot of things we both could have done better.
Yeah, but I would say so to land this plane, long story long, I think if we did it and we're like, hey, let's get in there and do this, and then we were to go quickly through, knock out 10% into the trash or into the Goodwill or whatever, and then call it, and even though you're like, dude, you do not need 47 spatulas, right? Well, we got rid of one of them, and then next time we do it, we get rid of 2 of them. Next time we do it, we get rid of 3 of them, and then eventually.
But I wanted your muscle to be strong enough to get rid of 96 of the 97 spatulas
on day one. Yeah, and that was too much, and like I sprained I sprained a minimalist muscle or something. I tore it clean off, and then it was tough, and then I had to I was on the disabled
and then
list.
It probably made it even harder for you to want to continue the process because it was so painful. It's like
traumatic.
It's a traumatic event, and I think you're absolutely right. I did that. I wanted you to, Dr. Tracy talked about this last week on the podcast, is similar. An analogy that you had given about the mountain is that like, we have climbed up the mountain at least halfway up, and then we turn to our partners and want them to join us and expect them to immediately be where we are on the mountain. And like, they're still at the base of the mountain. Like they still need to climb and build those muscles and get to where we have gotten ourselves. And I think as partners, we just kind of had these expectations that like, if I communicated enough or if I reason enough with this person, they're going to agree with me that they don't need 97 spatulas, when in reality, like you said, I think I really could have just been much more gentle about being like, hey, you did a great job getting rid of that spatula you didn't need, instead of focusing on the 95 other ones I wanted you to get rid of. Yeah. And I think anyway. Well, and I think it would have made the process smoother in the long run, because like after the first couple of times we went through stuff, it was there was so much tension. Then you really avoided going through stuff with me again until it got to a place where it wasn't always painful to do so. Right. Like we could have avoided all of that avoidance. Like we could have avoided the avoidance if I had been more gentle to begin with, I would say. Yeah. And I guess and I feel like one, like you see the end and you see like the promised land and you're like, hey, let's go. Like we can get there. Let's go. And so like you want to drive that. And then two, like some of the things, like I live in the world of 97 spatulas and you're just like, this is like not in your universe. And so you cannot understand how like in your brain just cannot wrap its mind around like why somebody would need
97 spatulas. So it's really hard to communicate.
And you'll be like, this spatula is perfect for grilled cheese. This spatula is perfect for pancakes. This spatula is perfect for this pan. And this spatula is perfect for this pan. I like the length of this one for this one. This one. I'm like, I would flip every single cooked item with my bare hands if I could.
Yeah. To not have that conversation.
Truly. Yeah, right? Okay, so that was definitely something I could have done better. What's something that I did well that helped you get to a place where you're not as attached to stuff?
Well, I think just doing that. You did it, just not at the level I needed, maybe. Or at first you definitely didn't, and or it would start out something like that, and then when you did that, it was great. And then I
did what?
Did you when we were very positive about the first,
when I started getting more positive about your stuff.
Yeah, and I think that was good. And then and I think we had better conversations about, it wasn't just like, hey, why would you ever have this or something? It was more like, oh, that's neat. That was really cool. Do you really and asking questions like, do you really think you're going to do that? Or is that consistent? It's kind of cool. You honored what it was and the story and the memory and whatever, and then exercised it.
You were ready to let it go.
Exercise the demon.
I did notice that. The more questions I ask, like, how did you get into DJ? What's your favorite place you've ever DJ'd? What was your favorite thing? What was the hardest thing about DJing? The more I asked you about DJing, the more you were ready to let it go.
Yeah. I think as I had closure, and then you validated it. You had, so that I know that just throwing this value away, right? It had value in that my person cared about it and saw some coolness or some interest in it and was like, oh, this is neat. Tell me more. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. Now we can now this thing that you did primarily before you met me, that's a cool chapter in your life, and I honor that. And hey, why don't we close that chapter because I'm not really doing it anymore, and and we're moving on to other things, and so I did get that nugget of satisfaction out of it.
Yeah. It's not me just critiquing it and being like, oh, it's so dumb that you have all this DJ stuff that you don't even need.
Yeah, because now not only did I not succeed, but now I'm feeling a dum-dum for doing it or whatever. Yeah. Whereas instead it was, wow, you spend all this time investing this, your time in it. And then, and wow, that was really cool. I'm glad you did that because now, because that makes me love you more. It's another thing to add to the list for things I love you about. Because wow, you were a good DJ. I don't know, or whatever.
Yeah, no, but it's you true. Can flip a pancake. Because I respected you. It's because I respected your choices and your history and what made you you and all of that. So what was your experience with me decluttering my own stuff? Did that inspire you at all? Just by me not even touching your stuff and only touching my stuff?
Yeah, for sure. If I'm wow, she can she's got all these sweaters or something like that. These oversized sweaters. All right, whatever. And then
don't at me and my oversized sweater collection.
No,
okay?
Or whatever. I don't know. And she's like, you know what, this is cool. Let's get rid of this. So let's, we can get rid of that. Or I don't wear this, or.
And you liked how my closet looked.
Yeah, and it was great. And and I could see my side of the closet, and then I could see your side of the closet, and how much more practical it is. And you go in, and you look wonderful. And I go in, and I have these button-ups from high school that nobody should have ever worn, let alone me, let alone it should still exist in my closet. That's not for a 90s costume party or something, maybe the pair of Junko jeans, but we'll save that one for for later. But everything else, let's get out of there.
So I guess the encouragement here is that it really does make our partners want to declutter more when we focus on our stuff and they see the results of our side, of the closet or whatever. And I organized Aaron's entire side of the closet relatively recently, actually. But then I feel like that helped you want to declutter because I organized it and made it look really good. But then you were like, oh, this could be better.
Yeah, it could be better.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your favorite space that we've decluttered and why? And I wrote some down, we've really decluttered wires and gadgets. Mm-hmm. We've decluttered the garage. We just did. Your closet is another one that I said. What's been your favorite one that makes you just feel so much better?
Definitely the garage.
Okay.
Yeah. Hands down. Because again, my dream has always been to be quick, we need this. and I can go, boom, I got it.
I need you guys to know when I
Open the
say
drawer.
quick, we need this. In his head, he's like, quick, we need a model size submarine.
I got you. And I open the drawer, go to M, go to S, comma M, and then we're good.
Good. Yellow submarine.
Yellow submarine.
Served
We
up
got
on a
it.
platter.
We got it.
Yep. It's
Let's
never
go.
going to be anything that practical. It's going to be like, quick, we need a 7-tier cake stand.
All right.
Please
We have a
make
hey,
that.
we have a wedding emergency. We need more cake. I got you. Right?
Okay. So
but now I can't. And the point is, now I can do that.
now you can immediately get your tools and start building a 7-tier cake stand.
Exactly. I can go. Yeah,
You
I
don't
know
have
exactly
to
where
look-
everything is in the garage.
Exactly.
I don't. I don't have to be like, I know exactly where this thing should be, but it isn't there.
Right.
And then not only am I not succeeding in the thing that I wanted to succeed in, which is have that thing ready to go, and to be effective and to help out everybody,
Right.
but now it's, I need to buy another one.
Right. And it's the worst.
And it's annoying because now I have 2 of them.
Yes.
Or 4 of them.
So what would you say that now you feel like as a whole, how do you feel now when I say, hey, babe, I want to really go through whatever room this week. I really want to go declutter XYZ area, or like, hey, there's still the 2 boxes in the garage that you didn't get to when we cleaned out the garage. Do you mind decluttering those in the next couple weeks? How do you feel
better
now?
I feel better.
You don't feel the
where
defenses?
No. I don't.
I mean, like,
I
how
feel
do
like a little twinge of like, but like I know it's for the good of the order.
But like, I mean, as a whole, do you feel like living in a decluttered space and house like has given you new mindset on stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it just looks so much better. So much lighter. Like I feel like I can do things because I'm not like under heaps of stuff. Like it's much easier to keep things clean. Like within a couple minutes, I can clean the counter or put everything away, put the kids' toys away, and then it's like, then from there we can do whatever the next thing is. And it's not like, oh well, we'll never get there, or we'll just like pile it back on top of the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Do you feel like there's any form of like a pressure that you've let yourself, like you don't have all these different hobbies staring at you being like, you've never done me and you never will. Like now that you've only pared it down to ones that are practical for you, do you feel like there's less pressure from all your stuff reminding you of all these like quote failures?
Yeah. It's like when you get like a free time and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go watch a show, and then there's like 1,000 things to watch, and you just end up clicking through everything, and you never like settle on anything. If there's only one channel, then you watch what's on that channel, or then if I pare down the hobby, then I'm actually gonna get something done, and then I'm like, oh, I've got 3 hobbies to choose from, or 10 hobbies to choose from. I can choose the one thing, or like as opposed to 1 million hobbies, and I have by the time I go through the
do you feel like a better sense of contentment too? Like, because I noticed, you don't shop as much as you used to, like buying all the gadgets and getting all the cool different little Instagrammable things. Not Instagrammable, I should say, more like the ads that get you on Instagram being like, oh, you should get this.
They know me.
They do know.
And you know what? I'm cool with it.
But like, do you feel a greater sense of contentment? Like, okay, I don't actually need that. Do you feel any happier at all? Or are you just
I mean, I feel contentment, like I don't need that stuff. And like getting rid of a bunch of stuff has put into perspective, like why, like, and like this is great and this is me, and they like nailed it. The algorithm has nailed me, and then but it's like, it's hilarious. I was like, that is me, and then I can move on, but I don't need it because it's gonna pile on. When am I gonna really do it? It's just gonna be extra in the house, and it's me helping me reach other goals, right? Like meeting savings goals, and like savings for retirement goals, and like 529s for the kids and things like that. Like there's a lot of other things by not buying a bunch of extra stuff that we can, then I feel a lot happier and a lot more peace knowing that I'm also thinking ahead for other things. Like I'm covering my foundation, I'm covering my base, and it's forcing me to get into the hobbies that I had, that like to hit play and get back on the mountain and climb the rest of the way on some of these things, because it's like, oh, I've cut back on the hobbies. There's only this many hobbies left. Let's let's finish this, you know?
Yeah. And since you've decluttered so much of those big ideas, so many of those big ideas, that when you get a new one, I feel like you're less likely to just like jump on it because you're more aware of having had to let ones go, and the ones that you've decided to keep. Like, you've just been so much more intentional with where you want to be able to spend your time that you're not as easily distracted by like new and better and different. Now you're more, I've seen you still remain more focused on the ones that like have excited you in the past, and you're just not like, you don't see a squirrel anymore.
Yeah, I think things out more. Maybe I'll do the research. I'll like figure it out virtually, and then I'll just leave it at that. And if someday I find that this is something I want to take to the end, I have a folder on a computer as opposed to, you know, several bins of, you know,
hobby stuff,
of like underwater basket weaving looms in the garage or something like that, you know?
Oh my God. It's just
kiln.
like so not far at all from the realm of possibility in terms of things that we used to find in the garage. Oh my gosh. Well, babe, I'm just so grateful for you being super honest and for sharing your kind of side of things, because I think most people listening to this podcast are more similar probably to me in the sense that they are ready and they want to, and they are ready to kind of change their lives and declutter and live with less. And sometimes struggle with a partner who is like not there, you know? And so I think this will be really beneficial. Hopefully people can listen to it with their partner. But I love you and I'm proud of us. I mean, we've made some serious strides in terms of how we communicate and like work through these differences. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think we're cool. Thanks. I think we're the coolest.
Yeah, we are.
All right, guys.
You're cool.
I'm not going to ask Aaron the usual questions I ask people, unless you really want to tell people something like you're looking forward to right now.
I am looking forward to taking our van with the kiddos to go on some more adventures, you know, and I feel a lot freer now that we, you know, that the garage is emptier. Like, I feel like I can work on perfect the van. We can get that thing going out there. And that's a fun hobby. That's going to be great to make some memories with the kids. So.
Oh, babe.
I know.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy Valentine's Day. And I'll see you next week. Give me a kiss. Good job, babe.
Thanks.
You just listened to an episode of Paring Down with me, Shannon Leyko. If you enjoyed the show, it would mean the world if you can leave a review wherever you listen and share this episode with a friend. Those reviews really are what keeps a podcast on its feet for the long haul, and I will read every single one with a huge smile on my face, so thank you ahead of time. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe. Also, be sure to follow along on Instagram at Paring Down Podcast, where I offer lots of tips and inspiration for paring down, along with what's new here on the podcast. Till next time.